Hi, this is Diane Lovetobake on YouTube. And what we're going to make is a cake. But we're going to make a cocoa, or you could say chocolate, angel food cake. I'm using self-rising flour for this recipe. There are many other cakes that use all-purpose flour out there, and they are good ones too. But I had this at a friend's house, and she told me she used self-rising, and that's exactly what I'm doing because I was so impressed with it. So let's start talking about the dry ingredients first. Now, off the bat, I no longer put the recipe or ingredients below the video anymore, and I'm really sorry about that, but I'll explain that later. So I'll hopefully I'll be telling you the directions slowly and clearly enough. So if you want to grab a pen or pencil and paper and jot it down, okay? So let's talk again about the dry. We're using self-rising cake flour, and it is 1 cup. Now we're going to sift everything. So either, I like to use my mom's old sifter here. So that's what I'm going to do. And you want to sift that 1 cup of self-rising flour. Okay, all right. The next thing we're going to sift in is your unsweetened cocoa powder. This is not, out of the hot chocolate mixes that you make for hot chocolate. This is just the unsweetened baking cocoa, and there's 1/3. So we're going to put that in. And sift that in. Okay. All right. Now, you're also going to be needing 1 1/4 cups of granulated sugar, but we're going to divide it up. So out of the 1 1/4 total amount, we're going to be putting in 1/2 cup with this dry, okay? And it'll just nicely fall through. All right, now, in another bowl, I am going to sift all of it, okay? And I'm doing this, just for demonstration purposes, because I could have put it all together and sifted it, but I wanted you to see that, okay? All right. Now, if you don't have a sifter or a strainer, you can use a whisk, small or large, and just make sure that it's all whisked together and that it's well combined. So that's the dry so far. So just real quick, a recap. We've got 1 cup of self-rising cake flour. We've got 1/3 cup of your unsweetened cocoa in there, and we have a 1/2 cup of granulated sugar. But there was a total of 1 1/4 for the that you're going to need to put out to use, okay? But I don't want to confuse you on that, okay? And we're going to set that aside. The next thing is I did it ahead of time and prepped it so it would save time, so I'm not holding you folks up too long on this video. You're going to need 10 or 11 large egg whites. If you're using different size eggs, as long as you have 1 1/2 cups worth of egg whites, you're going to be fine, okay? I used the large and I only needed 10, and I did measure it. It measured up, for me anyway, 1 1/2 cups. So 10 or 11 large eggs. You be the judge of how you want to handle that. Then I went ahead and I put it in my mixing bowl with a beater, okay? And you want to start to just combine them so they kind of look opaque looking. And then what you're going to do is you're going to add 1/4 teaspoon of salt to those egg whites, okay? And then start beating them. Now you don't want to beat them till they're completely dry. You want them to have soft peaks but still have a lot of glossy color to them. Okay, once you do that and you start beating them, and it's medium to medium high, this might take you 3 minutes, it might take you less. It really depends on the speed. If you're using, you know, a stand-up mixer as I am, if you're using a hand mixer, it might take you a little longer. Once you have the beginning of those soft peaks, then you're going to be adding 2 teaspoons of vanilla. Now I'm going to turn it on and then I'm going to show you and talk about those peaks. I'll warn you about the sound. Okay. When you're beating those in and you finished up with your vanilla, again, you want it to be soft peaks, but you don't want them to be real dry. Again, it has a nice glossy color, a slight glossy color to the egg whites. Okay, and then we're going to set that aside. What you're going to need is a tube pan. This is a 10-inch. You don't need any spray, don't need any grease, oil, or anything like that. You know, if what we're going to do next now is that we're going to sift this dry a little bit at a time over the egg whites. And let me show you those egg whites again, just to give you an idea. I hope that you can see that. Okay? All right. So I'm going to just start sifting that over and just fold it in. You really want to make sure that you don't have any lumps in it, but you do want to try to be gentle so you can try to keep the air in it. Okay. So break up the intervals before you put it in. And just keep folding. Make sure that you're getting to the bottom of your bowl. And fold that in. This is what really takes, I think, the most time in putting this cake together. Okay, I'm going to set that aside. That's a little too much. And when you're folding it, it almost looks like it's not going to come together because you've got the dry and you're combining them in your meringue here, your egg whites. Okay, let's put the rest of that in. Okay, and now we'll just spend the remaining time just folding that in. Now you're going to bake this cake at 325 degrees and it's going to take you anywhere from 40 to 45 minutes. So, and all our ovens set up so differently. I try not to open the oven to really check it because I worry about it falling. But I don't even really put a cake tester in it. I go basically by touching it, and if it springs back, you know that the cake is baked. I know some people say, oh no, I always use a cake tester or toothpick. And that's great. You know, you probably know best, but that's how I check mine. Okay, I think this is pretty well folded in and combined. I'll give you a look-see on that. Okay. And now we're gonna I'm gonna try to lower my pan as low as I can so it doesn't fall from too high of a distance here, and start layering it in my 10-inch ungreased pan. And try to even this out. As much as I can. And I'm going to just use a knife here to take off the excess of my spatula. Whoops. Got some drippage there. Okay. I think I got most of it. Okay. And then I'm just gonna smooth it out once more to try to even this up a little bit. Okay. The next thing that I do like to do is I just take a knife and I kind of cut through it so it kind of prevents the air bubbles in it. Okay, and we'll set that aside. And then again, put it in a 325 oven, anywhere from 40 to 45 minutes. Now, when it comes out on your cooling rack or your countertop, this particular pan I can turn upside down and it'll hold itself up. But many of them don't have the legs on it. So if they don't, and you just have a pan like this, I use a funnel. And when it comes out of the hot oven, I put it on the funnel and I let it set there till it cools. And it might take an hour. Maybe it'll take an hour and a half. It really depends, you know. But you want the cake to kind of settle and solidify before you take it out, okay? So again, if you don't have one with legs, just use or a bottle, a clean, you know, a pop bottle or something like that, okay? So I'm going to show you, I'm going to rinse my hands here quickly, and then I'm going to show you what it looks like. I just want to wash my hands and rinse them because, after all, I've been working with raw eggs. Okay, and this is how it turns out. Now you don't have to put anything on your cake. If you want to just dust powdered sugar over it, you want to serve it just with some fruit, you can make white glazes for them. I went ahead and made a chocolate glaze, a shiny glaze over it. And I'm going to be doing a video on that, so it'll be soon to follow this one. So anyway, we'll cut into this. Now I must admit I had this in the fridge because my kitchen is very warm today, and I was worried about the top getting too warm, okay? But anyway, it is a delicious, light tasting cake. It's great without any type of glaze or sugar glaze. Like I said, you can eat it plain, you can serve it with ice cream, great with a cup of coffee or a cup of tea or a nice cold glass of milk. It's a great tasting cake, and I think you'll enjoy it if you give it a try. So there you have it. It's a chocolate or cocoa angel food cake with a glaze. So if you try this recipe and you like it, please leave a comment because I'd love to hear from you. And if you're so inclined and you want to subscribe, well, I can't thank you enough. I always want to thank you for watching me on YouTube because that's the only place that I put my videos on. And that's one of the reasons I no longer put the ingredients. And I'm not alone on that, that's for sure. It's just not worth it anymore to put all the ingredients down and then see my work either claimed as other people's, or it's posted, or it's pinned somewhere. And I'm so frustrated when you write to me or have a question and I want to answer you and I can't because it isn't on YouTube. So that is why I take off. I don't put the ingredients, and I don't put them on the recipe. So again, I want to thank you for taking the time to watch Diane Lovetobake on YouTube. Stay well, stay safe, and I'll see you soon.